Not that someone had been watching me. After 10 years working as a human liaison on alien stations, I'd accepted that privacy was a flexible concept in space. No, what bothered me was how long it had been happening and who had been doing it. The truth didn't come out until the night the stars over Eryth Prime dimmed and the alien princess finally spoke the words that changed everything. "I have observed you for 7 of your years," she whispered, "and I chose you." Eryth Prime was not a planet humans were meant to walk upon. Its sky glowed faintly violet, streaked with silver clouds that shimmered like liquid metal. Gravity felt just slightly off, enough to keep you aware of every step. The air carried a soft, almost musical resonance, a side effect of the planet's crystalline crust reacting to atmospheric pressure. The native species, the Aurelian, evolved here. Tall, luminous beings with translucent skin and eyes like polished gemstones, they were ancient even by galactic standards. Their empire had risen and stabilized before humanity had discovered fire. And at the center of it all was Princess Eryth. She stood beside me on the palace balcony, her form outlined by starlight. Regal without effort. Calm in a way humans rarely achieved. Her presence alone carried authority, but tonight, there was something else beneath it. Tension. "You wish to speak with me, Your Highness?" I asked carefully. She turned her gaze toward me, and the faint glow beneath her skin shifted from gold to a softer blue, a color I'd learned meant contemplation. "Yes, Eli Carter," she said. "I wish to speak with you, not the representative of humanity, not the advisor, not the observer." My stomach tightened. "All right," I said. "Then I'm listening." She stepped closer. And then she said it. "I have watched you for years." I didn't respond immediately. Not because I was afraid, though I probably should have been, but because my mind was racing through possibilities. Surveillance? Political evaluation? Psychological profiling? "You mean reports?" I asked. "Briefings?" "No," she said gently. "I mean watched." The air between us hummed faintly, as if the planet itself leaned in to listen. "I first observed you when humanity sent its earliest envoys beyond your core worlds," Eryth continued. "You were young, uncertain. You made mistakes." I winced. "Still do." "That is why you were interesting," she said. She told me how the Aurelians had noticed humanity almost immediately, not because of our technology, which lagged behind most interstellar powers, but because of our unpredictability. We adapted. We argued. We failed publicly and learned loudly. The Aurelian High Council had begun long-term observation of humans. And Eryth, as heir to the Crystal Throne, had chosen a single human to study in depth. "Me." "You watched me, personally?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "Through records. Through diplomatic feeds. Through indirect presence." "That's unsettling," I admitted. She inclined her head slightly. "It is also an honor among my people." The beginning, I realized, hadn't started that night. It had started years ago, during my first off-world assignment, when I defied protocol to evacuate a mixed-species settlement before a solar storm. I'd been reprimanded by my superiors, praised quietly by others, apparently observed by Aurelians. Eryth described moments I barely remembered. Times I'd chosen negotiation over force. Times I'd admitted ignorance instead of pretending authority. Times I'd protected alien lives at the cost of human political leverage. "You are not exceptional because you are flawless," she said. "You are exceptional because you hesitate." "Most people don't consider hesitation a strength," I said. "Most civilizations collapse because they lack it," she replied. That was when I realized this wasn't just about curiosity. This was about evaluation. The middle of the story unfolded in fragments, memories recontextualized, Events I'd lived now reframed through an alien lens. Eryth explained that the Aurelians had once been conquerors. Long ago, before their culture matured, they had expanded aggressively, imposing order through overwhelming force. It had nearly destroyed them. They survived only by redefining strength, not as dominance, but as restraint. And yet, she said, even we struggle to recognize it in others. Humanity, it seemed, was standing at a crossroads, expanding rapidly, forming alliances, making enemies. The Aurelians debated whether humans would stabilize or destabilize the balance of the galaxy. My actions, small, personal, often unnoticed, had become data points in that debate. You watched me for years just to decide whether my species was dangerous? I asked. Yes, Eryth said. And whether it was capable of growth. I exhaled slowly. No pressure. She smiled faintly, a rare expression among her kind.
There's more, she said.
Of course there was. She told me the truth not as a declaration, but as a confession. I was not meant to grow attached, she said quietly. That word, attached, carried weight. Aurelian royalty were taught emotional distance from birth. Their decisions shaped star systems. Attachment could bias judgment. But I found myself returning to your records, she continued. Not because I was ordered to, because I wanted to understand. I looked at her, really looked at her, not as a princess, not as an alien authority, but as a person carrying a burden older than my species. And what did you learn? I asked. She met my gaze. That humans endure uncertainty better than any species we have known. She spoke of human grief rituals, of our art born from loss, of our tendency to form bonds even when they hurt, to love despite impermanence, to hope despite probability. You are fragile, she said, and yet you persist. We don't really know how to quit, I said softly. That, she replied, is why I chose you. The tension reached its peak when the Aurelian High Council convened. Humanity's future was on the agenda. Sanctions were proposed. Restrictions. Oversight. I was called to testify, not as a diplomat, but as an example. Some counselors argued that humanity was too emotionally volatile, too divided, too dangerous. Eryth listened in silence. Then she stood. I have observed this human for 7 years, she said, her voice resonating through the chamber. Not in moments of triumph, but in moments of doubt. She spoke of my failures, my regrets, my willingness to change my mind when presented with new understanding. He does not represent perfection, she said. He represents potential. One counselor challenged her. You risk bias, princess. Yes, Eryth replied calmly, because impartiality without understanding is merely ignorance with authority. The chamber fell silent. The vote was taken. Humanity would not be contained. They would be welcomed, cautiously, conditionally, but as participants in galactic discourse. I felt my knees weaken with relief. The ending came later, beneath the violet sky once more. Eryth and I stood where we had before. You have altered the course of my people's decision, she said. I didn't mean to, I replied. I was just being human.